You know what I just figured out? Like for the first time, something. Uh, I just figured out the rating system of five.
5.
Yeah, like you know how someone would rate something of like a scale of like 1 to 5, where like, and to me, like I was like, why would anyone do that? You should just use like 1 to 10. That makes more sense. And then I'm like, wait, five really is the best one because five just means excellent. Four means good. It doesn't mean very good. It just means good. Three means mediocre. Two means below mediocre, but there's some enjoyment that you've gathered from it. And one means absolutely terrible and or boring. And I'm like, fuck, that makes so much more sense now. I can rate movies like that. When I think of Marriage Story, that's a 5 to me. I cry when I watch that movie. Star Wars, The Last Jedi, it's a 2. I derive some enjoyment from it just because I like seeing Adam Driver's Kylo Ren. But beyond that, nope. It can honestly be a 1 if I didn't enjoy Adam Driver. Uh fucking Phantom Menace. 1. No. Did I really even like the pod racing? No, I didn't. 1. Utter trash to me. Hate it. But yeah, that's the thing. I just figured out that yeah, that's the thing I figured
And
out.
then sometimes you get those rare movies that like you try to put on that scale. It's like I didn't like it, I didn't enjoy it, but you can't give it a 1 because hey, you feel like the movie tried something. Even
And
though it tried something, the plot didn't warrant, I don't know, a 2 or a 3, but the ambition you want to give a 5.
I think in that retrospect, you should go with the Anthony Fantana rules, where he gives a number and he gives a light or a strong recommendation to it. Like he uses a scale of 10. He'll go like, "I'm feeling a strong 6 to a light 7 on it." Right?
Mhm.
Like depending on who you are and depending and like I understand where you're going and I appreciate that. So I want to give you like this strong 1, but at the same time, it's utter shit. So it's a big old fat 0, big old fat goose egg.
And I guess from your point, that leads me into mine, which is when it comes to a movie like Bright,
Oh my
like
god, you're the master of fucking segues.
Why is there a fairy in the bird feeder area?
Good afternoon, officer. Fairy lives don't matter today. That's it right there. Now take the little homie out LAPD style like you do.
Oh, and you keep doing all your gangster stuff. I'm just trying to sell my house. Don't worry about that.
like there's just a shine of light on this. Like, do you ever sit down and go, you want to watch a solid 2 movie?
Uh I mean, sometimes honestly, yeah. I remember from my childhood watching Kangaroo Jack. That's a solid 2 out of 5 movie.
Mhm.
But man, if that isn't like the best static noise to just fall asleep to, with just like
Kangaroo Kangaroo Jack is a weird one because that's one of the movies that's, yeah, I can see why you would say that as a kid, but as even an adult, that's not even a strong one.
I would say
It's a flabby one. It's a sad one.
I don't know. I don't know. I find the bit where they're literally talking about shit, like actual shit, in an airplane bathroom for like 5 whole minutes, hilarious.
See, that's one of the movies that this is the way you gauge how actually hilarious it is. Go watch the Nostalgia Critic video on it. I know he's not like the YouTube's favorite person anymore, but you go watch his video on it, and if you laugh equally as hard at his gags as you do as the movie, yeah, you might want to start reconsidering some jokes.
Didn't even know the critic did Kangaroo Jack.
He
Huh.
he did.
But with that out of the way, I think it's time for introductions. Hi, welcome one and all. My name is Derek, aka Big Black Noir, and this is my co-host.
Trey.
And welcome to our podcast. We still don't got a name for it. I mean, one day. I think we should
Self-made monsters. I'm putting my picture in.
just cool name. You know what? Fuck it. Yeah. Welcome to the Self-Made Monsters podcast, where we discuss movies and maybe among other stuff. Who knows? But thank you. Welcome. Joining us for would you say this is officially episode 1 now that we have a name, or would this just be episode 2?
Let's just go with episode. Well, technically 3. Don't we have 2 other videos? Or are you just gonna put the Star Wars saga as its own
What?
thing? Do we do 2 videos on Star Wars, or am I just in a weird
No, we
dream
did.
world where I wish we did 2 videos on
Like you
Star
couldn't, you couldn't see my face, but I'm just like, what? We made another video? What do you mean? No. I know why you think that, because I had lost the footage to like
Ah,
the last one, but no, I did get all the audio for it, so we did put up one whole long ass video, hour
okay.
and 41 minute. Yeah, that thing was nearly 2 hours of the video. But
Jesus, put a lot
yeah.
of that. All right.
Yeah, so I would consider this episode 1. And all right, and today we're gonna talk about the movie oh my god, this is episode 2. We did Bodied, right?
That's right. Okay.
That's episode 0.
And this was supposed to be episode 2 after Star Wars. All right.
Yeah.
We getting this timeline together.
Okay, all right. Jesus Christ, we don't remember what the fuck we did. All right, well,
That's why we
either
have to do
way,
this more often.
for finally we have gotten to watching Bright. About 2 years. Oh my god, when did Bright come out?
2017.
Because I'm like, that's unprofessional. We're 3 years too late either way. For
I
Bright.
mean, not even. Long as we talk about it, right? Long as somebody has something to say about it, and we have a reason to say what we have to say.
True that. All right, Bright. Directed by David Ayer, screenplay by the always highly controversial Max Landis, and presenting on Netflix. What do we think about it? McGee, you want to start this one off, or do you want me to bring it out here?
I can start off. Keep it simple. Bright. It was a movie I had to watch twice, not because of any like confusion or confliction about what was going on. It was more so out of I wanted to see why. And when I say why, not so much why did this happen, as I know why this movie. Why is this what Max Landis wanted to be his Star Wars? Why did he feel this story was the one he had to tell that was going to be his contribution to the hero's journey or whatever journey he's trying to do that came from Star Wars to film? And honestly, you can tell Max Landis really believed he was gonna say something with this movie, and it just doesn't come together in a way in which he wanted it to.
Wait a minute.
Hmm?
Oh, I just fucked up the
What
recording.
happened?
I have you on my speakers actually
Oh no.
in the thing. So when it doesn't sound like anything now, but when it comes back in the recording, it's gonna have your voice speaking, then bouncing off my microphone as if it's speaking back to you. And I just thought about that. Oh my fucking god!
How do we avoid that?
I need to find a pair of headphones.
2 hours later.
Okay. All right. A whole
Let me get-
hour and a half later, a whole 2 different microphones. No, headsets.
oh,
Whole headphones later. $94.27 later.
how much did you spend?
$94.27.
What did you get from Walgreens?
Like, I don't know.
What the
Walgreens was just the weirdest place ever, because it's like they have all the kind of stuff that I do want, like, but it's like they cost a wildly expensive. Even if you have the Walgreens card, nothing's on fucking sale with the Walgreens card. Why? Because I the most expensive thing I bought, right, is I buy these little moist wipes and stuff like that, because I just
Mhm.
like using them on my body and everything. And I'm like, because I'm a dainty motherfucker. What can I say? And it's a really big pack, and they come for like 2 for $10. So that's like, I bought 4 of them. That's $20. I
Mhm.
bought like some Haagen-Dazs ice cream. I know, again, dainty motherfucker. That's $5, right? And
Mhm.
then the headphones, one pair was like, now that I'm thinking about it, yeah. One pair was like $20, the other pair was like $10.
Mhm.
So I can see where things are starting to add up. I bought a couple boxes of cereal, but it's still like I feel like if I went to a corner store, everything else would have came down to like $30-$40, and the headphones would still be the same, and I would have came back with like would have been like a $70 purchase.
And you got a
Oh,
really nice corner store right up the street from you. It's that little
yeah.
Arab joint.
Yep. Good people. They remember me because I keep like I'm the only one who buys the licorice, it seems,
Mhm.
because it's always stocked. But whenever I want my thing, the watermelon or the green apple is gone because I'm the one who bought it that earlier in the week, and they haven't had a chance to restock. They're like, yeah. And one time they got strawberry, and I was like, oh man, you guys don't got it. He's like, oh, you don't like that one? I was like, nah, I don't like strawberry. He was like, oh dang, we thought you wanted that one. We'll all right,
Oh,
we'll order the other ones. I was like, oh, you don't have to do for me. He's like, no, you do. You're the only one who buys them, so we do. Oh, thanks.
yeah, man. Corner like the neighborhood corner store is like a godsend, especially once they remember your name or give you a nickname. You in. You could literally go in and be like, yo, so I'm looking for this. They will try to make it happen.
That's what I feel about the Subway, because they closed at like 8:30, and I had came
Mhm.
by like at 9, and he was cleaning up, and I was like, oh man, you're closed. He recognized me. He's like, no, you can come in. I was like, I don't want to be that guy. He's like, no, come in. I'm like, hey, thanks.
It's
You're
like,
a cool
all
guy.
right.
Cool guy. But all right, we're back. Welcome back, everybody, again to the Self-Made Monsters podcast. I'm your host, Big Black Noir. This is my co-host,
Trey.
and we're finally talking about Bright. I'm not gonna do the whole intro over again because edit the other part in, because fuck all that noise. Bright, directed by David Ayers, screenplay by Max Landis, released in 2017. Let's talk about it. McGee, you were starting it up by giving us a summary of why of what Bright is, and like what was your expectation when you were coming into this project?
Bright is the best way I can sum it up is a buddy cop movie that really wants to be like some Lord of the Rings.
I was thinking more like Beverly Hills Cop, but
See, it's
like
not funny enough.
with racism.
See, Beverly Hills Cop is trying to be funny. Bright is more funny out of a failure of storytelling. So I don't think it's the same thing. It feels more like they just want to do like one of those classic '80s buddy cop movie. You know, two new partners. One's a jackass. One's a rookie. Let's see what happens. And they go for that, but there just so happens to be elves, magic, orcs, a dark one, a dark lord, really, some kind of prophecy. Like all of these elements are shoved into what should be a simple story about two dudes learning to work together despite the worldly circumstances.
Yeah.
And no, what you about to say?
No, I was about to say, so like when coming into this project, you didn't actually know it was written by Max Landis, did you? Right?
I did not.
That was actually that was fucking funny.
That's
I
what
like how
inspired
different-
the second watch, actually. Because the first watch was, all right, let me check this out, for the review.
Mhm.
Because I heard about it and I've seen Lindsay Ellis's video, and that got me curious. Excuse me.
Yeah.
The second watch was upon learning, Max Landis had a hand in this? All right. He said this is going to be his Star Wars? Okay, let me watch this again and see. Let me try and see what this man's vision was. Because his other works I enjoy, and like he's a personality that like a force to be reckoned with. You know what I mean? One of those personalities where like anything he touches, you can kind of see the sparks of his madness.
Yeah.
So watch it the second time, I see what he was going for, and it feels just like this is a movie that really wanted to be some great epic, and it comes across as a B movie with a way too high budget.
Yeah, that is what it ends up being at the end of the day. It's a lot has already been said about Bright. I remember when it came out in 2017, and the critics all panned it. And I just remember like being at school though. I don't know if it was at school or something like no, it couldn't have been at school. It was 2017. I just remember when I was still on Facebook and I saw like a bunch of like my old friends and stuff like that. They're going like, no, man, this movie speaks the truth, man. This movie is the truth. It's talking about the real shit that happens out here on these streets, yo. And I'm like, I don't know about that, man. Just like because orcs wear jerseys and gold chains. That's your okay. All
It's like, is
right.
that your summation of black culture? Because you do realize that's what they're trying to do here.
Like what it's like, and I just remember it, and 'cause I just remember one guy going like, all the critics want to pan the movie, but this movie really speaks to the audience about what really goes down and the racism that happens for people in this country. And I'm like, all right, I'm getting what you're saying here, but like once again, it just kind of leads all back around to like the Lindsay Ellis video, because she really does knock it out of the park with the whole like how it's doing its whole race allegory thing with like the orcs being in place of like Mexicans and black people, despite the black people and Mexicans still being in the movie. But
And it's like, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
there's no racism anymore for the black people, but apparently Mexicans still get shit for the Alamo, and it's supposed
See,
to be a joke. It's a
like
joking thing.
that's what I mean. Like when a movie falls apart, because like you can't just put a new race in to be the oppressed people, because it raises questions on what about the other oppressed people. And if the movie was going for no, orcs have taken that spot, and the rest of us just like we team up against that race because they're the ones who did the thing with the dark one. That's the vibe it's given when the movie opens up with that locker room talk with the other cop who's just like, dude, you might as well just come to work with the eye holes cut out into like a sheet. Like, what the heck, bro? Like, he's that cop in like a real '80s buddy cop movie talking to the new black, like the black cop that nobody wants to work with.
Actually, we're doing it again. Where we're getting way ahead of ourselves.
We really are.
We're like so here like the summary of Bright is that it's a buddy cop movie with fantasy elements in it, right?
Mhm. Yeah,
Fairies,
that's
orcs,
no more
centaurs,
complex than that.
and a dragon exists. The actual plot of the movie is that there is a cop named Will Smith. Fuck it, I don't know his character.
Will Smith cop.
It's Will Smith cop, and well, actually
Jacoby.
I remember, and Jacoby. I remember his name. And an orc named Jacoby. Will Smith is a cop who's been on the force for a while, and Jacoby is his new orc partner due to a what was it,
Integration program.
yeah, integration program, like dang it, what's the real world thing to that, when you need to hire like a
a
minority.
certain amount of black people. Oh crap! Not like reparations. It isn't reparations. It's
No, it's not reparations. We need to get this right. We can't avoid this. What is it? It's
this is where Google is a beautiful thing.
diversity hire. It's a
Yeah,
diversity hire. There it is. Jacoby the Orc is a diversity hire because orcs in this universe, 2,000 years ago, apparently, there was the Dark Lord, and he tried to take over everything, and the orcs betrayed the rest of the races of humans and fairies and elves and all this other stuff to side with the Dark Lord, until one orc decided, nah, I don't want to do that. And he gathered all the other orcs together and all the other races to defeat the Dark Lord. And then 2,000 years later, people have like relegated orcs to be like a lower class kind of like being. Like they're primarily stationed in ghettos. They wear do-rags and jerseys and
they do all those jobs that are being nowadays called essential.
And they're doing all the essential jobs, and they're all defensive linemen and linebackers in the NFL, which is not a race thing. It's just a
fact of biology.
Just biology. It's athleticism, yo.
I mean, when you're bred to be big and strong, I mean, what else are you supposed to do except chase a football?
When you're big and explosive, you have that explosive athleticism. You don't have that cunning kind of sidetrack real quick. I talk about that all the time with like coworkers that I talk about sports with, because it really bleeds out into my own language when I'm talking about it. I was talking about like you don't know who this is, but Tyler Hansborough was a college basketball star, right? University of North Carolina. He's the leading all-time ACC scorer in basketball. Brilliant, cunning athlete, deceptive athleticism, right? And he's a white guy, right? And right there, deceptive athleticism, right? As in, he's white, but he can kind of run fast. He can kind of jump. he doesn't have that explosive kind of athleticism, that raw power, right?
That
And like
coded language.
I compare that to like that was the same year Blake Griffin came out, right?
Mhm.
Amazing dunker, can jump high up in the air, just like wall to wall athleticism and all that. And I'm just like, yeah, fuck, that really is how I talk about it. Because I'm not saying Zion Williamson is just like cunning or anything like that. I'm saying Zion Williamson is a fucking beast. And I'm like, oh, gee whiz. Institutionalized, racism, huh?
Yeah, man. And
But
that's what the movie really wants to talk about, but it can't decide does it want to focus on its fantasy elements or does it want to tell its story through the buddy cop tale that it's got going on with Will and Jacoby. And it tries to walk that line, but then just once you start getting into this buddy cop story, like Will and what was this father story? Will and Jacoby, they out on the beat. Will doesn't trust Jacoby because he was shot in like a flashback at the beginning of the movie, and Jacoby lost the suspect. The suspect was an orc, and that's kind of got like things. It's got Will being a little mixed up on the inside because he doesn't know if he can trust him. Is he putting orc before a cop?
yeah,
And that's kind of the conflict for like the first half of the movie.
yeah, as Jacoby is like actively going like, "Hey, put me with somebody else. I don't want to be with this guy." Not Jacoby, as Will Smith
Will.
character is saying like, "I don't want to be with this guy." And his superior, I forget, it's an Asian woman's name, but she's like, "Does it look like I give a fuck about diversity hire and shit like that?" And
it was like do I look like I want to be the one that's got to dip?
Yeah, deal with like this backlash. And there's another subplot with like Jacoby being like seen as like a sellout for being a cop too to other orcs because he doesn't have like sharp teeth or anything like that.
Well,
And
it
was
wasn't
like,
so much that he wasn't blooded, it's the fact that he's a cop and cops oppress orcs. And we see it throughout the movie. Like one of the first things him and Will pull up on as like partners, like when the movie's showing them like on their patrol, is like something going down with an orc family, and the cops are just beating them.
yeah,
Like dude was getting Rodney King.
yeah.
The opening scene of the movie.
In fact, didn't they say that in the movie somewhere?
I feel like there was a Rodney King crack in the movie.
I really do think there was. And it's yeah, but it was both of that though, because there is a big plot point with the whole being blooded thing, like at the middle of the film and at the end for some fucking reason.
That was Jacoby's entire character arc, trying to learn how to balance being both an orc and a cop, because that's what they established towards the end is you can be both. You can establish who you are, screw societal expectations, which is why Jacoby's, I feel like his story, despite everything around it, is a good solid story.
Is it? I don't know, because it seems like he was doing well being a cop and being an orc. Seems like he was actually the only good cop on the force.
Jacoby's the only good character, Erico's good character in the movie, because he's not a bad person. He's just awkward, and he's only awkward because as an orc, he's in a situation of power dynamics he has no understanding of, except from just training in a boyhood dream.
But further along in the story, there's magic that gets involved a little bit as Jacoby and Will Smith. I feel so bad for saying Will
it's
Smith.
Literally it's Will Smith playing Will Smith.
Because I know who plays Jacoby. Joel Edgerton plays Jacoby. I like Joel Edgerton, but I'm like, yeah, fuck it. We're just gonna say his character's name is Ward, but we're just gonna say
it's like Daryl Ward or something.
Yeah, we're just gonna keep saying Will Smith. So Will Smith and Jacoby get a disturbance call somewhere in the what is it? What the barrow? The
audio.
The audio?
No, the barrio.
The barrio. The barrio, yeah. The Mexican hood. And this is what this podcast is gonna be, just like me stopping and laughing, because it's just like recounting it. It's just like, wow.
It's because we're doing a movie that like it's stuff to talk about, but most of it isn't positive. So like it's hitting a little different, because usually there's nothing worse than a middle movie. I'd rather a terrible movie because then I can laugh at it because it's so bad it's funny, or it's just so bad. or a good movie. You can talk about good movies in all types of ways, but when the middling movies, you gotta really dig to try to find something to discuss because either it's like not worth discussing or it's been dragged to death because of the movie.
Yeah, like the thing about Bright is that it's more interesting what surrounds Bright than anything else than the movie itself.
What do you mean?
But well, Max Landis himself, his dad, the changing of the script, the way that it was marketed, and Will Smith's involvement with the line of trailer, fairy lives don't matter today. That shit surrounding it, and like it's allegory with Crash, the 2006 Oscar winner. That stuff is interesting more than Bright itself. But all right, let me just get through this.
Okay.
They get this call in, right? And turns out there's some magic shit going on in there. There's like a girl who's like a plant now. Everybody's been blown the fuck up. And
Oh, wait. Hate to cut you off. So when I first saw that scene, I didn't think she was like a plant. I felt like somebody had used magic to like pull her entire nervous system out, and she was just hanging there with it exposed.
Wow, that was way darker than what I thought.
Exactly. That's why it was so metal, because like this is where the movie like hits that point, and it's just like, okay, we starting to get into something interesting, but then it just becomes a game of let's try to get the MacGuffin. Nobody knows what we're doing, but
we're not in Kansas anymore, Dorothy. And
we ain't chasing orcs today.
And so Will Smith calls in other cops, and all the cops are like, this is a magic wand, man. You can do anything with a magic wand. And I thought the scene was actually kind of cool, but stupid. And they all decide right there, like, all right, we're gonna kill Jacoby right now, and we're gonna take this wand. And like, what the fuck is happening? And they're like,
it was so quick.
It was so quick.
Like
so fast.
I'll give the movie that because it stuck to his guns on the whole allegory for race relations. Because no lie, if it wasn't with the fantastical elements, you literally would have to replace Jacoby with Will Smith's character in that room full of white cops. Would have been like, yeah, we gonna kill this nigga and take the money. Like that's the only difference in between any other cop movie with a bunch of dirty cops in the 80s, and this is instead of it being the black dude, they gonna take out it's an orc, so it can be a little more blatant with it. So he can like
they all would have been going like, we're doing this, and there would have been one white guy like, wait a minute, Smith, he's a good guy, and you're like, no, we're fucking doing this. You're either with us or you're not. So
right, and it's always, if it had been a regular movie, it would have been the one white dude who like shook his head forlornly when they put the kick me sign on Jacoby. Like they would have built that up, but they didn't. They had all the cops immediately go power hungry and mad, which makes sense. It's a magic wand that gives you anything you want. Cool, but you would think as cops they would be a little smarter about it.
Yeah. And it's like, so they tell Smith like, hey, go out there and distract Jacoby and everything while we get this wand up. And like the moment that Smith leaves, they're like, we're gonna kill him too, right? And like, oh yeah, we're fucking killing him.
Of course.
Over these guys.
He is way too hesitant about this. You can't be trusted.
Yeah, like it's like they all immediately locked eyes, like, all right, cool, we're doing this. That guy's not locking eyes with anybody else. Did anybody see that? All right, he's gotta go. Have this. And so finally Smith confronts Jacoby like, hey, why did you let that orc suspect go that shot me? He's like, because I turned out I lost the actual guy who shot you, and the guy I found was just a kid, so I let him go because you and I both know if they would have got that kid, he would have been fucked. And then Will Smith is like, that's fair. Turns around, matrixes the entire fucking cast of dirty cops, shoots them down 5 to 1.
That scene makes this movie go from like a 1.5 to like a 2.2 because it was solid. Because you could tell he was real life probably going to go out there and kill Jacoby. He was ready to, but he just, something in him was like, all right, the only reason I ain't did it is because he knew something was up with what went down, and even he wasn't sure if it was because of the reasons he like wanted to project on Jacoby.
That gets lost. That's got lost in the script and everything, because it's like, we're told beforehand that nobody wants to be Will Smith's partner, and that he's kind of an asshole and a bad guy, and that he's
No, they
alone.
don't say he's a bad guy. That's one thing they didn't do in the movie. It was mainly
Okay,
just because he came across as an asshole. Even just in the car talking with Jacoby, they established Jacoby's just awkward at best. You could tell he ain't never had just like a guy friend. He's not blooded, so you don't hang out with men orcs if you think about it.
but like
So
there
he,
was
he don't
nothing.
know how to be around a guy. And
But
Will
like
Smith just
even
treated him bad.
even in the car moments though, it didn't give off the sense of like a guy that nobody wants to be partners with. Because I feel
Yeah.
like any of those other cops would have been fine being a partner with Will Smith character with Ward and shit.
No,
But
well, the way I see it is because Will Smith was so ready to always be putting Jacoby down, even in like firefights and shit. When like Jacoby trying his best towards the end of the movie, after he had no reason to treat him like shit, he was still talking crazy to him. It's like Will Smith just come. He's that guy who's always got something smart to say, and he's one of them dudes who gonna say the thing you really don't want to hear. So like they was just trying to set up like, yeah, this is why nobody want to work with you, because if I got to deal with this kind of shit, I'd rather be with somebody who's like fun to be around. And Will Smith didn't give that vibe of like he's fun to be around.
you might be right about that. But after he kills all those cops, they end up meeting this elf named Tika, and she's like this childlike elf girl, and she can't really speak English, and
Can she?
we'll get to that. She can't really speak English, and so, but this ends up leading to a firefight because the Mexicans all come out and they go like, I feel like something else was supposed to go on with that, with the whole like spider thing and him like being in a wheelchair and using that shit bag and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And I'm like, is this supposed to be saying something else? Like he's still like a gangster despite like not being physically able to be a gangster, but still like command a bunch of people. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. All
Yeah,
right.
because a real gangster, it don't matter whether or not you physically able to do what you got to do.
I
If you
mean,
solid in the street code and know what you're doing, people gonna follow you.
yeah, you know what, you're right. But
Yeah.
yeah, the local Hispanic gang, they all try to kill him, and Jacoby, and they end up getting away. They end up in a car crash, good car chase, and it switches now to a bunch of other elves that are trying to find the wand that went missing with Tika and them, and she's trying to kill Tika and trying to get the wand back, and they're like super assassin elves. And you learn that elves are just basically the 1% because they're all just
Mhm.
like hoity-toity, and they have their own section of LA called Elf Town.
You go to Elf Town, everybody riding around in Bugattis. It's like
Yeah.
nothing but Bugattis and Teslas. Like, it's what I imagine living in like
Even
the, Silicon Valley,
even the orc drivers are uppity in Elf Town.
right? Gonna turn over and point at his teeth like, dog.
What the fuck? All right. And so
It's like being a house nigga and stunting. Like, what the fuck?
and so oh yeah, right. No, before that, I'm sorry, we forgot there was actually a big plot point before that when they were arresting a crazy guy and a sword in the middle of the street, and he was talking about there's a prophecy about oh my god, we didn't explain what the fuck a bright was. A bright is someone who can use a magic wand.
Don't worry, the movie didn't really do it.
Yeah, you're right. There was a crazy guy who explained it. He explains a bride is someone who can use a magic wand and that there's a prophecy and blah 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 blah.
In
And
accordance to the
so,
prophecy.
in accordance to the prophecy, Jacoby and Will Smith, they do all this thing. They call up one of their buddies who's like a good cop, and he dies because the elves finally catch up to them, and they have to like get out and everything. They kill the Hispanic gang. The three elves kill like the whole Hispanic gang and everything, and they ended up getting caught by other orcs, and these orcs go like, you did this, that, your cops, and they kill Jacoby. They throw him down a whole well, and
Well, you're missing a key point with the other
oh
orcs.
yeah.
The other orcs,
Before they kill Jacoby, they realized that the big gang leader of the orcs, that his son was actually saved by Jacoby, because that was the kid that was just like tagging up the wall, that was like the wrong guy that Jacoby let go. And so, although that ended up meaning nothing because they
Nothing.
still killed him.
Like
And then
when
he
they sent the kid home, and it's like, oh, so he's not gonna do it because of some kind of weird like orc blood altar, like blood debt or something. No,
Yeah,
just go home, go kill him.
I literally thought that that's how it was gonna happen. Like I thought like they were like, all right, save. I thought because like the moment that happened, I was thinking of Training Day the whole time. The whole time when Ethan Hawke's
Don't be
character
mad
is
at me
about.
because I ain't seen Training Day.
What the fuck? How? What?
Correction. It's been on the TV and I've been in a room, but I've never watched it. I'm just gonna put this on the list so we can continue this review and you not curse me out. I'm
All
watching
right,
it tonight.
okay, so there's a scene where Ethan Hawke's character, after Denzel Washington's character completely fucks him over, Alonzo, um, these Hispanic dudes are about to shoot him in the fucking mouth with a shotgun in a bathtub, right? And then right before it happens, like the daughter of one of the dudes come in and say like, "Hey, don't do that. He helped save me." And they was like, "What? Yeah, that was the white boy I was telling you about. He saved me from this like guy who was gonna rape me." And it was like, "Oh man, that was our bad, man. It's all good, right?" And he's like, "What the fuck?" And then he gets away. And I'm like, that's all I'm thinking about. Like, oh, it's about to be Training Day, right? This is basically Training Day. And then no, they still kill him. And they throw him down the fucking well. And I'm like,
It's just like, what was?
ow.
So like the thing I want to get into though, like that makes that even worse. Remember, the orcs picked them up because they had a peaceful party, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the cops showed up and brought the Mexican gang members, and they had guns, and they disturbed the peace.
Yeah.
So he was like, "You broke the one rule. We got to punish you for it."
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that whole arc, this whole thing we went down with this Mexican gang lord, whatever. If this is supposed to be an epic, it should have been they let them go, and now they have companions to deal with the Mexican gang who they now have beef with, and who also knows they have access to a wand for these potential future movies. Like it felt like they were setting that up.
I think we'll get to that. We'll get to the whole like script stuff.
Okay.
And then Tika out of nowhere pulls the wand from her fucking arm. I thought that was kind of cool. And brings Jacoby back to life. And that, yeah, and then they just leave. They just leave after that.
Oh, and she speaks English after that.
Yeah, she speaks English after that, but yeah, like she brings Jacoby back to life, and all the other orcs are like, "Whoa!" And they just leave. They just leave, and then she speaks English. She's like, "Now I trust you guys," and I'm like, "How? What happened?
All of this
What do you mean?"
between he just killed 4 or 5. Like it was 4 or 5 cops. 5, right?
It was 5
cops for this wand and you, and now him and Jacoby have been getting chased this entire time. You could have ended this chase a while ago with a magic blast, and y'all could have got away scot-free. What do you mean you trust him now?
You trust them now, because like, so like what they're saying is that Tika was like, after seeing Jacoby die and then bring him back to life, like, I trust you now. Will Smith's character didn't say any kind of real shit during that whole thing of like, don't kill him, he's my partner. There was nothing of that. So it was just like
watched him get shot and just looked upset.
Yeah, and I'm like, and that there was a small bonding moment before that when they're like trying to hide out from the gang, and that's when Will Smith character goes like, "You don't want me as a partner." I'm like, "I'm not." I swear like he says like I'm not a good person or something like that, or like I'm not like a good friend or whatever. But so she finally speaks English. She's dying now because plot. And they have to bring her back to the original house where they got her from, because there's a little pool down there where she can revive herself. And the main elf lady finally catches up to them. Turns out they're sisters, because whatever. And Jacoby and Will Smith try to fight her, and Jacoby ends up shooting the wand out of her hand before she can use it. And Will Smith character is like, "Hey, that was a good shot, but you aim for her head." And then Jacoby's like, "I can't.
I'm out.
I'm out."
He sounded so sad too.
Right?
I can't. I'm out.
And so Will Smith, so there's a plot point in the thing with the crazy guy beforehand where he goes like, the only way you know if you're bright is if you pick up a wand and you don't immediately fucking blow up, right? And so Will Smith was like, "Fuck it, I'm about to pick up the wand." He picks up the wand, he doesn't blow up, he's a bright. And there's this long ass pause where no one is doing anything. He's like, what do I do now? And so Tika tells him the magic words and he says them and it blows her and the evil elf up and they get out of the house. But turns out Will Smith is still in the house. So Jacoby has to go back in, get him out, and then all the orcs that were just chasing him the other time and shot and killed Jacoby before he came back to life.
Watched him die.
Watch him die. They all cut their hands to represent that now he's blooded. He did a brave act. And they did like the black fist in the air, which is another,
Solidarity.
Solidarity. I'm like, the fuck for? What the fuck is happening? Why is this important? Oh God. And then the movie ends with Jacoby and Smith being like talking to the Magic Task Force. There's a Magic Task Force. They're part of the FBI. It doesn't really matter.
They didn't do anything.
They didn't. They were exposition really. And they just go like, hey, basically nothing happened. Wink, wink. We're keeping this under wraps. And they have to like, there's like a funeral service for the 5 dirty cops plus the 1 good Hispanic cop. And they see Tika like kind of like walk by in the crowd with a hoodie, and it's like, so, and the movie ends, and that is Bright. So,
Bright is really it's a
It's a movie.
2-star out of 5 B movie, but with like a budget that is not fitting of like it doesn't make sense for what they ended up putting out on screen.
Yeah, it literally the budget was around $90 to $106 million, which is pretty substantial for an unproven IP coming off of Max Landis.
Supposed to be his big star. Like
Big
it
star.
has that problem. It's funny he says it's his Star Wars because it has a lot of problems that the prequels and the sequels have.
We can
Whereas-
both agree that Bright. We see where Max is coming from. We see where this could have been like a bigger thing to expand on. But again, like Lindsay Ellis says, it's just the whole allegory stuff that doesn't make any sense with the whole not changing of history. Like the fact that you put the whole thing 2,000 years beforehand with the whole Dark Lord thing just kind of goes like, so where the fuck was Jesus in all this? It's like Christianity still around and that nothing changed and that orcs just became black people. So it just kind of brings up this weird thing so that did slavery never happen or something like that?
That's what I was getting to is like when I was saying like it has the issues that Star Wars has. The problem with the prequels and the sequels is it's clear there's a story it wants to tell and there's points it wants to get to, but instead of having the story naturally get you to those points, it just tells you how the character's feelings, what all this means, all right, and this is where we're going. And it doesn't try to take you along the journey, it just drops you off there. Bright's problem is it's like all the Dark Lord stuff, all the world building stuff. Yes, it doesn't make sense, but a solid story, we wouldn't be paying attention to that. If your story gives us room to be asking these kind of questions, your story isn't doing its job. It's not distracting my brain enough.
And that original story could have done that though. So as it's already been reported, the original script had a couple changes in there that would have made the movie a little bit more tolerable, made more like in continuity sense. Like originally, Will Smith's character Ward, he was gonna be a divorce. He was gonna be divorced, estranged from his wife, still have his kid and everything, but like be that like single dad trying to do right by his kid, but he's personally fucking up his own life. Which would have been way more into like the archetype of like the buddy cop thing that is supposed to happen. Like a guy who, because his marriage is like really put together. And that's what I'm saying. There was like a weird thing about like who, like,
it's a weird disconnect between who hurt you.
Yeah, like who doesn't want to partner with him, but also if he's such a toxic thing on the job, how does he have his like whole like personal life together? That's not how usually these things go, which maybe it's like subverting. No, it's not fucking subverting anything. It's just
Don't
contradicting.
don't,
It's
don't
just
try to
really
defend it with
contradicting.
subverting expectations.
It's
They
just
didn't
really
plan out how this was going to work. Like there is no way for him to be this pariah on the police force, but your home life seems normal. You seem well adjusted. You come
Yeah.
across as a prick, yeah, but you don't come across as just like unbearable.
Except that when you kill fairies. But I mean, he didn't kill a fairy, but he definitely, Rodney. Yeah, they did. Yeah,
Like,
yeah. It was at the beginning of the movie when his neighbor was like, he's gonna Rodney King the shit out of this fairy. And he's
Grant,
like, fairy lives don't matter. Today. He's like, how about you
I'm
guys
glad
get
you
the
brought up the
football?
neighbors though, because that was a point I noticed. Like
Mhm.
that's where they kind of tried to show where black people are. 'Cause it doesn't come up, and I feel like Max Landis knew he was not the person to try to have this dialogue. At least try to push it out there in this movie, where the only group of black people you see in the movie are Will Smith's neighbors. Will Smith is a cop. His neighbors are thug, like not thug, but they from the hood.
Yeah, and they apparently just don't have a problem with him either.
Yeah, and that I feel like that little moment there is enough to be like, okay, that kind of shows where race relations at. Because if these dudes can live right next door to a cop and had no smoke,
Yeah,
you know it must suck to be an orc.
Yeah.
It must be bad to be an orc.
Yeah, because they're joking around with him like he about to run.
They sitting there with 40 and shit, barbecuing.
Just walk back to your barbecue. And but they see the orc and they're like, "What the fuck is that nigga over there?" And I'm like,
Exactly. Like it got real. Like it's like when you show up to your white friend's pool party, and they don't want to let you use the pool. That's what Jacoby had to deal with.
Man, that was so weird. That was so weird, but funny. But yeah, in the earlier script, he was gonna be divorced. Keeping more in line with his character of like being like completely broken, so that's why nobody wants to partner with him, and that's why you have the opposite, which is Jacoby, which is a much more positive, more optimistic outlook on life that Ward definitely would need to that yin yang thing to balance out the situation and everything, right? And so it would make the other stuff kind of hit just a little bit more for Jacoby being this optimistic person, but then being oppressed by the world around him, and that's not allowing him to actually do the things he needs to do. There was another edit in the script to make Tika a lot younger, where it would make sense for her actions to not make sense, for her just being a literal child of like, oh, she can't really speak good English. She can only speak Elvish. She only knows certain things and stuff like that. That's why she trusts Jacoby and Ward after they do the thing. In the earlier part of the script, they were gonna let Jacoby and them go because that makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah.
And it's like and then it was just like a bunch of other like small stuff, and I'm like, yeah, but all that small stuff would have made the film, not saying it would have made the film like any better, but I'm like, we wouldn't be like having this thing of like, the fuck was that? It was just all these small changes by David Ayer and all that stuff, which leads us into the whole thing of like Max Landis himself, with the big driving force behind this movie. Because let's be honest, this movie is not getting made without Max Landis penning that script. Now, Max Landis, for people who don't know, is a very controversial screenwriter. Has his own YouTube channel called Up to My Knees. His two biggest videos was Wrestling Isn't Wrestling and The Death and Return of Superman. And he's this niche kind of guy. He wrote Victor Frankenstein, American Ultra. People mostly know him from Chronicle because he wrote the screenplay for that, the Josh Trank film that was really super fucking good. And he has
love that movie.
And his father, if you didn't catch that connection, as you didn't, is John Landis. For people who don't know, he's the guy who directed Coming to America, a really important film for the Black community, which I've only seen half of so far.
You mad at me about Training Day, but you ain't saying.
Yeah, I know. When I thought about my freak out earlier, I was like, yeah,
we wouldn't have Wakanda if it wasn't for Coming to America.
For Coming to America, Coming to America, like it really is an important movie. Without even me seeing it, just like reading up the articles about it, it actually is an important movie. And also, to the landscape of music videos, he's also directed Thriller, the big Michael Jackson movie, and also Black and White. I didn't know he directed Black and White, but he also did Black and White. I was like, that's why he turns into a jaguar at the end.
Oh,
So
really?
both of them have amazing controversial things because John Landis was involved in like a lawsuit back in the day because he and Vic Morrow, an actor, in these two child extras were killed on set for Twilight Zone, the movie. Helicopter like effect went wrong, like something failed in the helicopter and the wrong explosive went off at the wrong time, killed all three of them. And the jury found that John Landis was not guilty. Guilty of like working the kids after hours for like 11 hours and stuff, but he wasn't guilty for the murder stuff.
Jeez.
Um,
How did that
fun,
affect
fa-
John Landis?
fun fact about that: Vic Morrow's daughter, Jennifer Ray Lee, she was married to Noah Baumbach for years, and when they had a divorce, that what motivated Noah Baumbach to write Marriage Story.
Really?
There you go, little fun fact for you guys. But so yeah, Max Landis. What do you think about Max Landis? Because so let me start off then, because
You're
I
the one who clearly has
yeah, I
feelings
have
for like
a
this man's
different,
work.
I have a history with Max Landis. I found him much earlier than anybody else. Like I didn't know who he was until Chronicle, and I was like, oh god, I love Chronicle. And it was around the same time I really started to like get more into writing, and I saw his YouTube channel like Wrestling is the Wrestling. I was like, what? There's a screenwriter who loves wrestling as much as I do, and he's explaining it to normies so they can get it. Yes, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Wrestling isn't
Just
wrestling.
unironically use Normie. Continue.
Wrestling is a very great video detailing how, of course, wrestling is fake. It's not supposed to be real. Wrestling is everything but wrestling. And he has this very energetic, very like take you by the reins and like lead you kind of personality where he can just talk about anything for like 20 minutes with no real editing anything and stuff like that. Like he just leads you with the direction of his words, and it really shows in a lot of his scripts, because I personally do enjoy a lot, if not most, of Max Landis' works. Chronicle, American Ultra, that had Jesse Eisenberg and Kristen Stewart, good movie. Victor Frankenstein, yeah, it was an all right movie, but the original script for itself, damn good read. Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency, great show. And the couple of chapters I read for American Alien, his reinterpretation of Superman, one of the best Superman stories I've read so far, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So the controversy and all that stuff, right?
Hey, before you get into the controversy, I gotta ask, how does Bright stand out? Like not counting quality, but like as far as his way of telling stories in comparison to the rest of his work.
It falls in line with everything else, because there's the parts with like the whole of Will Smith's character kind of being snarky. Like I'm like, yeah, that's Max Landis dialogue right there with the whole like, you guys just go crip walk back to you saying I'm just trying to sell my house. I'm like, classic Landis. And just like, and I feel like Max knew, I think Max so I think that Max didn't really care about the history so much of it. He just kind of wanted a setup. Like 2,000 years ago, there was a Dark Lord. All these fairy stuff exists. Here we go, present day. He never thought that far about it. And most of the scripts is never really it. There's never really any that kind of like big up backstory to it anyway. So that was just something that he just wanted an excuse to have it exist in the first place, because as he's explained before, it doesn't matter. Just make it up and just go along with suspend your disbelief, because this is a wrestling fan right here. It works in tandem with that. And so if you take out that part of it, yeah, this really could have just worked if the way the original script was probably like done, everything was kind of meant there. Like if you say it as it is, of like, oh, a disgruntled, overworked, divorced cop has to like get his diversity hire and like team up with him to like figure out this mystery with a magic wand. Shit sounds dope. The original script itself, after reading it, shit's all right. It's just average. Like it's not his best script. It's definitely not his best work, but it definitely falls in line with everything else, in my opinion. Than with all his other stuff. Like it feels more like American Ultra than anything else. And I mean, it wasn't written that too far beyond it either. So yeah, it falls in line with everything else. It's not any worse, but it's definitely not one of his best. It's just
Do
it's
you
just
think?
mediocre.
Yeah, and I feel like well, as far as I'm concerned, like the mediocrity comes from just that. It's from that one glaring weakness in how Max Landis operates. I feel like honestly, he did not think that far into it.
Yeah.
I feel like
He-
the pitch is the movie we got. Yo,
Yeah.
so it's a buddy cop movie. It's that one of them's an orc, and yeah, just orcs exist in this world, huh?
Yeah, that had to have been it. Just came in there like, all right, fairies exist, centaurs exist, and this guy's a cop, but his partner is an orc. Money. All right, cool. That
Let's figure this
had to
out,
be it.
and they ran with it. So like that's why I think that's why we're so willing to sit down and talk about this movie because it was set to come out and be like it's going to be more movies, and Netflix greenlit a sequel. I remember reading that,
Yep.
and I feel like if he takes the criticism he got from this movie the right way, which would be, yo, these things kind of matter, so you at least either need to fix your plot up in a way in which we're not thinking about this, or you rectify how this information is introduced to us, and then hopefully not through just monologues and exposition.
Yeah.
Like it needs to be organic to the story where we're picking up on these details.
I mean, yeah, that would have been great if it didn't get canceled because of the controversy. And
I mean, ooh,
we're gonna
segue.
no, we're still gonna cock tease this a little bit more before we get into that. What is your view of Max Landis? Because from what it seems like, you knew who he was, but until I like relayed more information to you, you was like, oh shit, I didn't know he was like involved in all this other stuff.
Yeah, Max. After you pretty much introduced me to like the greater world that is Max Landis, I
Mhm.
see the guy as like a little bit of a mad genius.
Yeah,
Where like I can tell you thinking about things on a different level, and your uniqueness in communicating that to the world is what makes the things you produce like have just this feeling of magic to it. I can tell someone cared about this, but it's clear that you care so much about it and that you're so singular in your vision that I legit think you need somebody like standing right there going, all right, how can we make this more palpable to the masses? It's that same thing I was trying to bring up earlier. It's that George Lucas like syndrome. It's like you came into Bright like George Lucas approached the prequels. I guess
okay.
you don't feel me on that one.
No, I mean I kind of agree. That's probably how Max Landis did.
Yeah, well, because it's like it's so much just you're telling me and not showing me, and the stuff you are showing me is interesting, but you're not exploring the interesting aspects of it because you want to tell me this buddy cop story, and the buddy cop story you're telling me doesn't have the right like setup for it, so it's not selling me on it.
Yeah. Did you
And what about that?
I was about to say, did you go into the thing I think I had told you about, like the wrestling isn't wrestling and his whole thing about Carly Rae Jepsen?
I didn't say anything about Carly Rae Jepsen. I watched Wrestling and Wrestling, and I watched The Death of Superman, and that's what feeds to it because you can feel just his eclectic energy watching those videos.
Yeah.
And it's like you see the way his mind works, and he takes you down the path with him. And I think that's what's missing from this movie is that, and who he is as a writer,
Yeah,
talented but eccentric, and I feel like that feeds into just this controversy he has going on, which is going to ruin us seeing whether or not like Bright was a fluke or if he could actually take this somewhere and take us down that path with him.
yeah. And the controversy that we've been holding over everyone's head is that in 2019, July 7th, yeah, it was July 7th. Oh no, I'm sorry, June 18th, 2019. A big, big ass editorial from the Daily Beast comes out. Max Landis, 8 accusers have come forward against bright screenwriter and Hollywood scion, alleging a pattern of emotional, physical, and sexual abuse that spans a decade. And I read the entirety of the Daily Beast article. Unlike other stuff, unlike well, not like unlike like other stuff in the Me Too movement, this one clearly had a bunch of people to point back to, and it clearly had dates to reference to. So there's a smoking gun trail behind the Max Landis like controversy and the allegations. So there's like no one, even there's a fan that can go like, maybe he didn't, maybe he didn't. Like that is kind of like a lot to like really come off of. And some of the stuff he's been accused of is some pretty heinous shit. Like they're just straight out rape. You're like, yeah, fuck, that's not a good look at all.
I mean, true, but I'm of the mind, especially ever since the Pro Jared debacle, that until I see a court case or you show up with receipts that's been cross-referenced, everything is up in the air. I make no judgments because of the fact that cancel culture is a thing and people make mistakes. So I want to see everything judged out in the air before I let that like influence my opinion. But I feel like it sucks that we might not get to see because Bright 2 would have been his chance to like prove to the world, are you really a mad genius or are you just mad? And it stinks that his legacy is going to end on that note. Oh crap, he's just mad, and we'll never get a solid, definitive answer.
Maybe it actually isn't. I mean, he has returned to YouTube recently. He's uploaded a couple videos, some of them being live streamed. I had popped in for a couple of them. He avoids all the comments that go like, "When you going to jail, bro?" That's kind of fucking funny. And he kind of still seems like his same old self. He tried to, I think he opened up like a screenwriter like
Workshop.
consulting, yeah, consulting like workshop agency thing. And he got, obviously bashed for that because like, it was a big comeback. But he announced like he was also in the production of doing 2 movies. He was supposed to remake an American Werewolf in London with his dad. Nobody knows if that's still green light or not. Still go see that. But yeah, no, it's for me personally, this is kind of really fucking hard. Cause with a lot of stuff that happens with like heroes that you hold really dear to your heart, and they end up doing weird, really weird, creepy ass shit. Like I'm a big fan of Woody Allen, but married like his fucking wife's daughter at a really young age. Fuck, don't do that. Roman Polanski, great director, actual rapist, children. Louis C.K., little bit different, fucking creepy, man.
I don't feel like Louis C.K. should be put in the same breath as that. What he did, yes, was weird and had a
Really
weird
weird.
power dynamic to it. But I mean, we like
I'm not
get
calling
down
him,
to brass
yeah, I'm
tacks.
not calling him a rapist or anything, but I'm still saying, I just want my heroes to stop doing fucking weird shit. So like with the Max Landis thing, it was one of the
See,
ones where
there's
I'm
your
like,
problem. Stop having heroes.
shut up. With the Max Landis
You can't
one,
be disappointed if you're disappointed in everybody.
I was just like, no, I can't let this one go. Max Landis is my favorite screenwriter. All right, he's one of these things that represents all my niche stuff, all wrapped into one really energetic person. For God's sake, he introduced me to my favorite musical artist of our time, Carly Rae fucking Jepsen, the queen of pop. And anyone who says differently is a goddamn troglodyte. And it's just like, I can't let this go. I can't let him go. I need everything out on the floor. And when the big like article came out, I was like, God damn, it makes it really hard to like defend that. And it's like, and I'm not one of those guys that's like, oh, just because someone did something bad that I can't enjoy a product anymore. I don't think there's really such a thing as
Right.
like separating the art from the artist, because I feel like it always flows in together. Like there's no way you can separate like Clint Eastwood art from himself, because every Clint Eastwood project is a part of it. Like Gran Torino, it all culminates with that one guy arguing against a chair that he pretends is Obama. It's Clint Eastwood though.
I got
But
next though.
like,
So, is there a movie you ever like sat down and watched, or like a series or anything you've gotten into where you enjoyed it, and then immediately that enjoyment changed because you found out something about the creator?
I can't.
Because I know it can go both positive, like it's like Evangelion. If you find out what Anno was going through, it makes the story all the more like
Does
hit a
it
little
does?
harder. But but it doesn't change that Evangelion is a
Yeah,
solid story being told, right?
we need to have a conversation about that.
So we really do like. Well, I was late to the Evangelion party. I saw it as an adult and was just like, "Yo, why didn't anyone make me watch this at 16?" So that's definitely a thing we can do. But like with Max Landis, would you say the review of Bright changes because of what went down with him, or your thoughts on wrestling isn't wrestling, or Superman isn't dead, or the death of Superman? I'm sorry, changes because
No,
of these
I mean with
allegations.
the wrestlings and wrestling, and I guess Def and Return of Superman, it does like make me think some different things because of like the women he used in those projects. And there's other actual stuff on he other did because like he actually had a little series called Women Stories, and it was just like him putting a camera in front of women and them telling different stories. And it's just like that stuff is kind of weird
Huh?
now when I look back at it because I'm like, and one of the girls in there on the Wrestling Isn't Wrestling, the girl that played Batista, her name is Anna Akana. She's one of the people who correlated in the Daily Beast article. And but she's a big YouTuber herself. She dated Ray William Johnson for a bit back in the day, and she made a really good short web series called Riley Rewind. It was kind of like a thing about this girl's suicide and stuff like that. It was actually really good stuff back in the day. She does make pretty good content right now, but it's just like seeing all of that and seeing all those people and just it's like and seeing the allegations. I'm like, it's just weird. It's weird. It doesn't change my opinion of the thing itself, but it's weird. It's weird to watch it. It gives
It
me
gives you
mixed
mixed
feelings.
feelings.
But as
Yeah.
far as like me thinking that those videos, those projects, these movies, no, these are all still very solid projects, still solid movies. I would still highly recommend
So
American Ultra. I'm not even gonna mention Chronicle. Chronicle should be recommended to everybody at all times. It's fucking great. Josh Trank is a
that's
good
an
director.
amazing
I
movie.
don't care what anyone says. The first half of Fan Four Stick was actually a good movie, and then stuff happened. Fox.
You're just picking all types of hills to die on today. All right. So this seems like because of what's going on with Max Landis, tragically, would you say that this video and your review of Bright could be like your summation of Max Landis as a whole?
Oh, wait. How do you mean?
So like, this might be the last big movie we gonna get from Max Landis for a while because you just know
Yeah,
how this thing goes. He's gonna have to lay low for a
yeah.
while.
This might just.
So how does that make you feel? Thinking of Bright is what most people are probably gonna remember about the man.
I think it's as far as the artistic part of it. I think it's kind of a shame. He has a bunch of other stuff under his belt that are much more worthy of looking back on than Bright. Again, Chronicle, uh, American Ultra. Those are some really good films. Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency, really good show. American Alien, really good graphic novel and comic book. Carly Rae Jepsen, lyrical breakdown, a cut that no one can see. Damn fine writing. Multimedia mixed thing that he had a whole website for. Damn good stuff. And it kind of sucks that with the controversy that happens and Bright being the last movie, it just kind of mixes into this like big shitstorm of like meh, and that's forever it's gonna be. Bright was meh, so thusly everything after that, people are just gonna go like, no, everything about him was meh. Max Landis is just a deeply flawed human being, but he made some really good shit.
Sounds to me like he's a human being. And that's why I say he's a mad genius, cause yeah, this movie is interesting. It could have led to bigger things. I hope against all reason that we get to see the end of Bright, at least Bright 2, or where he was going. Because I feel like with a little more time and actual listening to the criticism, he could probably take this somewhere. Like I like the 5 star
Oh
rating
yeah,
system you said
yeah.
when it comes to movies. Yeah, I would get us like
I
2.5.
would give it a, I would give it a solid 2. I derived some enjoyment from it, but overall, it's like the first time I actually watched it and I called it. I was like, there's worse ways to spend a weekend than to watch. There's worse things you can watch. There are better things you can watch. But overall, when you watch Bright, for the most part, you will sit down and you will pay attention for those 2 hours it is on. And at the end of the day, isn't that what you ask of a movie? I mean, you ask more, but like, it's just a minute movie.
No, that's not what most people ask for from a movie. But a movie that can adequately serve that up in 2 hours, I'll take it. And we got to see Will Smith, and Will Smith is always a joy to watch.
Yeah, it was.
Except in Gemini Man, apparently.
I actually didn't see that. I knew that was gonna be garbage.
Like you could tell from the
It's
trailer.
like the moment that
came
came out, I was like, I feel like this should have came out in like 1999. Like, doesn't it feel like a Van Damme movie? Like, doesn't this feel like World Cop or something like that, or Future Cop? And I'm like, who?
Crap, who's the dude with the ponytail? He was a cop in New Orleans for a little while.
Steven Seagal?
Action dude from the 80s. Stallone. No,
Stallone with a
Seagal,
ponytail?
Right, Steven Seagal. Stallone. What the? I know. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Seagal.
God.
And it felt like a Seagal movie when I saw the trailer. Like, this is something he would do, and he would play both actors, and it would be terrible makeup.
I've never seen a
age
Steven Seagal
difference.
movie before. I heard
reason for
the
that.
dumb things about him. He's like, I'm gonna take you to the bank, Senator, the blood bank. And I thought that was like stupid funny, but I actually have never seen a Steven Seagal film.
We should probably like source out what's a good Steven Seagal film and just watch that to kind of take the headiness off of what's gonna.
Yo, this goes out to
come
all
from
my
this
martial
video.
art peeps out there. Fuck Aikido, judo is better. So,
Oh shit!
I am
Gauntlet
dying on a lot
Throne.
of hills out here today.
Like today is just Death to
It's,
Derek Day.
I think Aikido is useless. It's
All
like
on
I
your
think
sword, why don't
Aikido is useless. Judo is a superior martial art. It's just I don't know. I'm just
I'll keep that in mind when I'm picking
always
up a martial arts class.
I'm just gonna be on some Joe Rogan BS right now. Like, just do BJJ. BJJ is the best. That's the best martial art you can ever do.
Do all the Rogan stuff you want. That dude just got like $10 million to move his podcast.
You
from
missed
YouTube
the
to
whole zero.
Spotify.
It's $100 million.
I only saw it on Twitter. That just makes it worse.
And I'm kind of glad because I hate fucking using iTunes. I hate that anything exists on iTunes. So I'm like, yes, more people to Spotify. Fuck iTunes. I hope you die and burn and crash.
See, I was getting worried about Spotify because like a lot of the podcasters I listen to were starting to move to either like private Patreons or like to other sites. So like this might start bringing them back. Like the Rap Critic, he moved his review a new podcast off of like the main episodes onto his Patreon. He puts up like the side pieces on Spotify now.
I hope more people.
Oh yeah.
No,
Check out what
I
they're doing, man.
did.
It's pretty good.
Like I came in for a couple episodes, but I was like, oh man, that sucks. I just like Spotify more. I think it's just a superior kind of like streaming product. But we have reached the climax here. We've reached over just a little bit over an hour. So I think we made good time.
Hey.
I think we made good time. Any closing statements you wanna leave on?
No. Bright tries to be bright. And all it does is shine the spotlight on how little it really knows about the story it's trying to tell. And that's funny to me.
Yeah. All right.
That's all I got.
All right. Yeah. I think I'm gonna end on that one too. All right. This has been the Self-Made Monsters podcast. I have been your host, Big Black Noir. This has been my co-host,
The Ghost in the Wind.
we want to give a big shout out to the people who make our intro and outro music, Lud Gang. They are a 2-person indie garage group from Minnesota who makes some really dope music. Go check them out on their Bandcamp. page. Links will be in description below. Thank you for your time, and we will. Oh my god, what the fuck are we gonna review next?
So deep in your room.